Queen Elizabeth I was far more than just a monarch. She was a living myth. Known as the Virgin Queen, she cloaked herself in jewel-covered gowns and ruled with keen intellect and firm authority. Her reign is remembered for many triumphs, including defeating the Spanish Armada and strengthening England's Protestant identity. But beneath the layers of royal regalia and ceremonial grace was a woman consumed by fear, pride, and obsession. She cared deeply about her image, and when it came to hygiene, her practices were anything but ordinary. Cleanliness in her era wasn't about health, it was about maintaining appearances. Elizabeth viewed water as a threat to her well-being and treated her body as sacred, almost untouchable, to preserve youth and power. This video explores 5 of the strangest and most shocking hygiene rules she followed, and the last one may leave you stunned. One of Queen Elizabeth's most dangerous obsessions was sugar. At the time, sugar was a luxury item, rare and costly, imported from distant lands. For most people, it was a treat they might never taste in their lifetime. But for the Queen, sugar was everywhere. Lavish desserts, candied flowers, sweet marzipan, and syrup-soaked dishes dominated her royal menu. Sugar became a symbol of wealth, and Elizabeth indulged heavily. It wasn't just food, it was a statement of dominance and prestige. But this indulgence had a dark side. In an age when dental hygiene was primitive, Elizabeth brushed her teeth with a paste made of sugar and herbs, the very thing that was destroying them. Gritty powders added to her regimen only worsened the damage by eroding her enamel. By the 1590s, foreign visitors remarked on her decayed teeth, many of which were blackened, broken, or missing. Her breath was reportedly so foul it made those near her physically recoil, and her speech became hard to understand. Despite this, she refused extractions out of fear. One courtier even had a tooth pulled in front of her to prove it wouldn't be fatal. Even more bizarre, noble women began mimicking her appearance by blackening their own teeth with soot, turning decay into a twisted fashion symbol of status. In Elizabeth's court, rot meant royalty. You might have heard the famous line, "I bathe once a month, whether I need it or not." Whether Elizabeth truly said it is debated, but the sentiment reflects the hygiene beliefs of her time. Bathing was not seen as healthy, it was feared. People thought water could carry disease, open the pores to harmful miasma, and weaken the body. Elizabeth avoided full baths. Instead, she changed her linen underclothes frequently, believing the fabric absorbed dirt and toxins. When she needed to refresh, she used rose water, vinegar, and herbal infusions applied gently by handmaids. These weren't meant to cleanse, but to preserve her illusion of cleanliness. Taking a real bath was a logistical nightmare. No plumbing meant hauling in a giant tub, heating multiple buckets of water, and employing several servants to assist. Bathing was a royal event, not a daily habit. Instead, Elizabeth relied on hundreds of opulent gowns, perfumed gloves, and a carefully crafted image. She created a powerful illusion, not of sanitation, but of perfection. Water could ruin her makeup, smudge her mask, and reveal her humanity, and it was unacceptable for a queen who had to appear untouchable. Elizabeth's face became one of the most iconic images in history, pale, flawless, ageless. But the truth behind that look was harrowing. She wore a mask made from layers of makeup, not just for vanity, but for control. Pale skin symbolized wealth and divine favor. To achieve this, she used Venetian ceruse, a lethal mix of lead and vinegar, to whiten her skin. It caused rashes, sores, and long-term scarring, yet she continued applying more to hide the damage. Her lips were painted with mercury-based pigments, another deadly toxin. Over time, the chemicals took a toll. Her memory suffered, her mood changed, her body weakened, and her hands trembled. These were signs of mercury poisoning, though Elizabeth likely never knew she was poisoning herself. Still, she kept up the ritual. Her face was her symbol, her power. Painters were forbidden to capture her true likeness. Official portraits were based on youthful templates, creating a myth of eternal youth. She even avoided sunlight and banned mirrors. In her final years, it was whispered that touching her face could crack the thick makeup. She rarely washed it. Doing so would expose the aging woman beneath the legend. Whether she understood the cost or not, one thing is certain: she chose power over health. She destroyed her body to preserve the myth of glory. To grasp Elizabeth's hygiene rituals, one must understand her deepest fear: loss of control. Every aspect of her appearance, her powdered skin, perfumed gloves, and meticulously layered dresses, was designed not just for beauty, but for domination. In her world, bathing was intimate and dangerous. Exposing the body meant vulnerability. Elizabeth, having seen her mother and Bullen destroyed by scandal and betrayal, could never appear weak. So she redefined cleanliness with ritual and scent. She filled her daily life with strong floral and herbal fragrances: rose water, lavender, and custom blends made by palace apothecaries. These weren't for cleaning, they were for masking. She kept pomanders, ornate balls of scented herbs, close at all times, lifting them to her nose whenever bad smells came near. Her scent said, "I am not like you." Her gloves and handkerchiefs were drenched in perfume. Her gowns, stiff and layered, trapped odors and preserved her mystique. She even distributed scented gloves as gifts, a token not of touch, but of image. As she aged and lost hair, she turned to wigs, styled and powdered to maintain her royal persona. But beneath the perfume and powder, her body deteriorated. Lead and mercury scarred her skin. Rumors of sores and peeling spread. Mirrors were banned. A servant reportedly had the sole duty of powdering her shoulders in secret. Elizabeth became a prisoner of her own image. To bathe meant erasing the mask, facing time, but she had spent a lifetime crafting the illusion that she was more than mortal. Even in her old age, she carried a perfumed cane. When passing unpleasant smells, she would raise it to her face, not just to block the stench, but to remind everyone, "I am the queen." Her flesh was no longer her own, it was the embodiment of the crown, and it had to remain perfect at all costs. Despite the lavish beauty of Elizabeth's palace's soaring ceilings, golden halls, velvet-lined chambers, the reality was far from glamorous. Behind the grandeur lay a world without plumbing, toilets, or running water. Her personal toilet, a cushioned wooden chair called a close stall, concealed a ceramic pot that needed to be emptied and perfumed daily. This task wasn't done by a servant, but by a powerful official known as the groom of the stool, a trusted courtier who handled her most intimate needs and often shared political secrets. Proximity to the queen, even in private matters, meant influence, but the rest of the palace was far worse. Chamber pots and bowls were used throughout, their contents dumped into hidden cesspits or nearby trenches. Night soil men worked under cover of darkness, hauling human waste through corridors and stairs. The stench was constant and inescapable. Herbal smokes and flowers were burned to mask it. Straw and rushes soaked in oils lined floors, but rarely cleaned. They accumulated dirt and decay. Elizabeth moved between palaces, not just for politics, but to flee the smell. The longer she stayed in one place, the more unbearable the stench became. No fragrance could cover it forever. The truth behind the throne was filth and rot. Elizabeth didn't rule by accident, she ruled through performance. Her hygiene practices weren't neglect, they were calculated. In a world where female power was fragile, she constructed an uncheckable image. Bathing risked exposing flaws, a bare face invited judgment. A real body, aging and human, threatened the illusion she so carefully built. So she powdered, perfumed, and posed. She crafted a legend. Elizabeth I may not have been clean by modern standards, but she was immaculate in presentation. For her, cleanliness was never about physical health. It was about power, control, and the mastery of illusion. In a time when one misstep could bring ruin, she didn't just survive, she perfected the art of being seen, without ever being truly known. Her image was her legacy, and for a queen, that was the purest form of cleanliness.